process very constraining.
I got it right.
We're living in a growing world with a growing population where they need more food, and we need to find a way to make sure that it is a sustainable food system that enables everyone to get the food they need, but also meets our net zero and climate goals.
None of us can get there without each other. It's just too many interdependencies, and so we absolutely have to collaborate, and I think not just through the supply chain, through the value chain, but actually across our own sector as well.
There are 12.5 million coffee farmers in the world. 80% of them live below the poverty line. So you can imagine working in such a fragmented environment, putting together best practices for agriculture to improve things from a carbon journey is going to be very challenging.
Before you get food on your plate, you have a farmer, you have a primary processor, you might have a secondary processor, then you might have a retailer, you might have a food service company, and that's all before it gets to your plate. But ultimately, the vast majority of the emissions will probably sit with the farmer. As a large company, you can't just say to a farmer, you need to reduce your emissions. As a large company, you need to be working with the farmers, with the groups of farmers, in order to reduce, in order to educate, in order to help them find a way to reduce those emissions. And then obviously that has the benefits for the supermarkets, for the processors. A big challenge is these supply chains are complex. There's lots of different actors. We're talking across multiple countries, multiple geographies, and the data might not be perfect at this stage. And what we do need is decent data, good data, to understand what is happening, but that shouldn't be at the expense of action.
Consumers care more about sustainability than ever before, but when they're actually in store looking to shop for those products, those considerations aren't necessarily front of mind. In coffee in particular, the things that they still care about the most are taste, quality, and value. And so we need to be very consistent when we talk about our sustainability claims and not compromise on those other priorities that I was just mentioning. And we do so by following ISO standards and ensuring that all the messaging that we have is substantiated and credible through our internal resources. But we also rely on credible partners like the Carbon Trust to make our claims, such as the carbon reducing one that we've got for Gold, our Nescafé Gold products, as impactful as possible.
It's not going to take 1 year. It's not just we'll get some renewable electricity. It's working on a long-term basis with a long list of suppliers in terms of how they can actively reduce. Large companies are setting targets or have set targets, and now we're increasingly seeing that move towards action. We're seeing transition planning being a really critical aim of many companies. We're seeing them being published, and I think as these transition plans get published, as more scrutiny comes on these transition plans, it's going to be really important for companies in this sector to move forward and to move further up their supply chains to really work with where the key sources of emissions are.
We recently launched our supplier engagement platform and held a conference for our top 200 food and drink, IT and property suppliers. And for us, a lot of that was around education and supporting our suppliers to come on the journey with us. You don't have to be an expert, you just have to get started.
Consumers expect us to be making the changes that will make the biggest impact. So it's time to come together as an industry and really step forward.